Hoyeon is a brand new, free-to-play, cross-platform Korean gacha RPG that is the spiritual predecessor to Blade and Soul. The game was released in Korea, Japan, and Taiwan on August 28th by developers NCSoft, with no information just yet for a global release. Despite its average rating on the Play Store, the game is decently popular with 500,000 plus downloads in the last week alone, which is much more than any of its competitors. So far, I really like the character animations and art style. It does seem to have its own unique direction that differs from other games out there, so I don't feel bored just watching the screen. In extension of this, the story as well as the voice acting has honestly been quite fun, and I enjoy the silliness of some of the characters. The game already has an English translation, so for those who want to play the game in English, the translations do seem fine and capture most of the story. I wouldn't say they are completely accurate, but they don't deviate either. The UI and transitions are super smooth, possibly the best I've seen so far for a game available on mobile. Everything just loads instantly without any wasted animations as a transition. I honestly despise gacha games where transitions take too long, especially for things you have to do repetitively. The only negative I have for visuals is that some areas seem a little cluttered with the amount of mobs in them. While I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing, it does feel like they could have made the areas slightly larger. Moving on to the actual gameplay, there are currently two modes. The first is the field battles, which are generic auto content. I personally think this is fine for grindy stuff, but it might dissuade players who are looking for a more interactive combat experience. The boss battles and dungeons, however, you would have to at least dodge or fulfill some conditions to clear. Overall, I would say the combat system for field battles is average. It's the expected result for an auto combat game. However, this could definitely be more interesting later on. I would prefer if the manual combat was smoother, as it's quite clunky and just makes you want to play the game on auto and time your dodges and joint attacks. The turn-based battles are way more interesting with some concepts such as formations as well as many diverse characters with different skill sets. I do think this mode is slightly better, and I kinda like the idea of mixing the two into one game. I think the summon system has been implemented quite well. You can collect any standard character in the game quite easily. However, limited characters will be where you may have to open the wallet if you really want them. The tiers in the game are Elite, Master, and then Special. Overall, I got pretty lucky on my account and managed to pull a single copy of most of the standard SSRs on the first day alone. Dupes are going to be necessary to further strengthen your heroes by the imbuing system. My original thoughts is this isn't pay to win for standard characters, but could be for the limited units. One thing I noticed was the developers of the game seemed to want to put a bit of everything into it. Field battles, boss battles, town building, turn-based combat, explorations, etc. And while I don't think any specific parts are terrible, none of them seem amazing. It overall just feels like an okay-ish good mix of general components from your normal gachas. Let's quickly go over some things I think the game does well. It does operate smoothly on both PC and mobile. You can AFK farm a quest and do something else at the same time. This is a huge plus for games that require time for equipment management, etc. Everything in the game is explained simply. As long as you read the prompts, you should be able to understand what things you need to do. There aren't many pop-ups or ads being thrown in our faces. There is instant teleport. Your daily to-do list makes life simple. You can level any character you want, as you can just get back your mats anytime. The game is quite popular. The chat has been constantly moving since I logged on. I feel like Koreans have a love-hate relationship with NCSoft games. They will hate the company, but still invest a ton of time and money into their games. Some of the negatives are there is maybe a little too much stuff to do in the game dailies wise. Dailies probably take around about an hour, if not a little bit more than that. I also think there needs to be more interactive things in the early game, something you can do while on the side while you AFK some of the quests. In all honesty, the PC version is quite average. I don't really feel like it's that special. So, how is the game overall, and is it worthy of your time? Honestly, I was a little bit surprised. It's definitely not a bad game. The first hour did seem quite dull, however, I found myself enjoying it the more I played. It's hard to say whether the game is worth your time just yet, as that will most likely depend on how enjoyable the game is later on, as we are still pretty much in the tutorial even after 4 or 5 hours. If you do enjoy these kinds of games, however, I do recommend giving it a shot to see how it goes for you. For myself, I am curious about what interesting mechanics there might be later on, so I'm going to push the account to get a better insight and do a follow-up. If you like the video and want to be notified of more content in the future, remember to hit like and subscribe. That's going to be all for this one. 잘 가.